Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be working on the 2013 Crosstrek. I said Crosstrek, guys lay off. I know in the last video I said Crosstrek and got a lot of you riled up. I don't see what it really matters. I know it is Crosstrek. Sometimes when I talk it just comes out Crosstrek. That's the lazy southern tongue, I reckon, in how I pronunciate things. But again, thank you for correcting me in the comments. I'm well aware that it is Trek, not track. So, working on the 2013 Crosstrek. I just got back from the Subaru dealership and got our parts bundle. Grand total, everything worked out to be $658.39. I know that's higher than what I said in the first video. I estimated right at $500. And that's because there's been a little bit of a change in what we're going to be replacing, what I found wrong. When I made the first video, it was off of a visual inspection and from me test driving the car in Georgia before I purchased it. I just received the title for the vehicle in the mail yesterday, which was Monday. Today is Tuesday. And I drove it yesterday and I drove it today. In driving the car, as mentioned before, we were going to reboot the outer joint for the left front of this vehicle because of those pinholes and the leak. But with driving it, I found that CV axle is actually bad. We've got some popping in that joint on tight turns. So I elected to go ahead and get a reman front CV axle from the Subaru dealership while I was there. This axle was, I believe, 170 bucks. Again, that's my cost, not what you could go into Subaru and get it at the parts department, because I do have a wholesale account with my local Subaru dealership. And there is, I believe, a $40 core on this axle. So we will be replacing a full axle rather than rebooting. Hopefully at a different point I will be able to do a reboot on a CV axle, just so you guys will have that and it'll be part of my repair video library. Underneath this box, we've got our 8 quarts of CVT fluid for the replacement. We've also got our 3 quarts of gear oil for the front and rear differential. We've got our Serpentine belt, which we will probably be replacing in this video, along with the cabin air filter and engine air filter. We've got our cabin air filter here. We've got our engine air filter here. 2 oil filters. I know a lot of you are like, wait a minute, what are you doing with those blue Fram Subaru filters, Mr. Subaru? In the oil filter video, you said they were junky and don't use them. And well, I did, but that was primarily dealing with EJ series oil filters. I'm still not a fan of these filters, but they will serve their purpose until I have enough time to research through and figure out a better alternative for the FA and FB engine, as I did with the EJ. So for now, we're going to use the Tallboy blue Subaru filters when I do the oil change. We've got our 2 front lower control arm rear bushings here. Then we've got a bag of goodies. I love these big Ziploc bags from the Subaru dealership. I basically hoard them. I've probably got like 10 of them now, and I don't ever put anything in them, but I love them for some stupid reason. I'm weird, I don't know. So we got a set of 4 EGK spark plugs. We've got the new rear main seal. As I said before, this probably won't be changed anytime soon because it'll be an engine out service. We'll probably pull that and do a full reseal on this engine at some point in the future, or at the point where that oil leak becomes worse than it is now. We've got our PCV hose. We might go ahead and do the PCV in this video as well because it's pretty quick and simple to get to. So there's a PCV hose. If you recall, our old one I said was really brittle and hard. This one's nice and pliable, supple. New rubber. We've got our front differential CV axle oil seals. These are not the same, they are different. They are a left and a right part number. And finally figured out why, aside from the obvious that, you know, the axle is going to rotate in a different direction depending on what side the seal is on. But we finally found the distinction in these seals, looking at them up close. All the outside dimensions appear to be identical, but the little directional, it looks like veins, but it's just lines basically in the lip of the seal. They go different directions. They have a right and a left orientation, so that's the difference in the two seals. We've got our battery hold down bracket. As I said, the car was missing it, and I don't like having a battery flop around under the hood. We got both our J hooks that go along with this. Both of our flange nuts are in here at the bottom of the bag. I don't want to lose those. And our brand new PCV valve. I believe that basically rounds out our entire list that we went over in the first video, aside for that CV axle reboot kit, which, as I said, we don't need because we're going to replace the whole axle. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and switch over, open the hood up. We're going to replace the PCV valve, PCV hose, engine air filter, go inside, do the cabin air filter, and probably finish up with the Serpentine belt replacement before the end of this video. So before we get into the repairs on this video, I want to talk to you a little bit. We've got a lot of new subscribers here. The channel has really taken off in growth in the last 2-3 months, to the tune of about 4,000 to 5,000 new subscribers per month. A lot of you are being introduced to the latest videos and the way that I'm doing videos now. A lot of you guys have been with me since the very beginning and are used to the old format of videos that I would do. So the way I used to do this was basically my videos were a video version of the factory service manual. I tried to go over every single procedure as outlined in the Subaru factory service manual. Each procedure as described in the manual, done to the way they wanted it done, provided you all with the factory torque specifications for all fasteners, and was quiet the entire video. I did not used to talk in videos. I just put captions on the screen. A lot of you guys really like that, especially when you're getting ready to do a job and you just want to check back over it and use it as a reference or as a companion guide for your repair. So a lot of you also, newer viewers, like the new format where I basically just talk you through the repair, give you tips and tricks as I talk through it, and just kind of go over an overview while still providing you factory service steps and torque specifications. So that said, from here on, I'm going to try to do at least 2 versions of videos. And by that I mean this. This video, as I said, we're going to go over engine air filter, cabin air filter, Serpentine belt replacement, and we're going to do the PCV valve and hose. We're also going to install the battery hold down because we're under the hood and might as well go ahead and take care of that. So that'll be one long, basically drawn together clips of doing these services. That said, I'm going to re-edit the video and I'm going to have one video specifically on the engine air filter, one video specifically on the PCV valve, you know, break them down individually where they'll be as a companion guide for people that just are looking to do the repair without all the talking and skipping for the video to find the information they want. So just a little heads up, you'll probably see multiple videos posted, not on the same day, probably one day and then the next day. So I would post this video, the longer video of the multiple services, and then the next day maybe just the air filter, the next day after that just the Serpentine belt as a standalone video, etc. So just a little explanation of what I plan to do in the future. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Do you think you'd rather just see the old type of repairs or just see the new type of repairs? Do you like having the option to have both? So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get in these repairs now. Just wanted to talk to you about that real quick. Starting off with the battery hold down installation. All you really need for this procedure is a deep well 10mm socket and a ratchet. We're going to be fighting the rain here. It's now starting to come down, so hopefully at least we can get this done before it rains and get the camera out of the weather. So we'll put our top bracket across our battery. This is not the right battery for the vehicle, well, not the correct group size battery. Actually, just now seeing this is a Ford Motorcraft battery. All right, so we've got our crossbar installed. We're gonna reach down here and hook our J hook in. Put the end of the J hook into there. Long one to the front. Slide that up and throw your flange nut on there. Spin that on down. This battery's pretty weak in this car, so I'll probably be replacing it soon too. Had a couple of slow crank events where it almost did not start, almost had to jump it. And our short J hook, if we look back here directly underneath the fuse box, there's another little piece of sheet metal with a hole in it. You just slide the J hook through there. Try to maneuver this negative battery cable out of our way. And line up the hole there. Throw our flange nut over. Again, this is the incorrect battery, so this isn't going to fit exactly the way it should. Get that hand tightened. Tighten down our flange nuts until the bracket is reasonably tight on the battery. Do not over tighten this. You do not want to put physical squeezing on the battery. You don't want to see it bow in the center on the plastic housing. You don't need it that tight. Just tight enough to hold it in place so it doesn't slide around or jostle going down the road. And check, and we're good and snug. This is supposed to fit over this peg, but this stuff isn't oriented correctly. But that's basically all there is to it. Okay, moving on to the opposite side of the engine compartment. Shouldn't need any tools to do the air filter, just your hands. Flip up these two clips, pull the air box back slightly, enough to grab the air filter and slide it up. And you can see we got a bunch of dirt and junk and some insects and things in here. Not extremely bad, but again, good enough for us to go ahead and warrant a replacement, just so we are up to date and know when the services were performed. So our genuine Subaru air filter here, part number 16546AA12A. Nice and clean compared to their old filter. So again, pull back the air box. Enough room to slide the filter down into your air box, pull it back forward. Then fasten your clamps, and you are all done. As easy as that, quick and simple, replacing your air filter. All right, on to the next service, replacing our serpentine belt. I'm gonna remove the air intake snorkel. You do not need to remove this for this service. I'm removing it just to allow better line of sight for you viewers to see what I'm doing. Next, I will remove the upper belt shroud. Again, you don't technically have to remove it. It just makes it a little easier to show you guys what's going on, and gives you a little bit more room to work. So we've got a 10mm headed bolt right here above the AC compressor. Remove that bolt. You can pop the cover up. It's just a pin in a rubber bushing here. Set that out of the way. I'll put that 10mm bolt right back in there so we do not lose it. Next, we'll take a 14mm box end wrench, put it on our automatic belt tensioner, which is below this dummy pulley that used to be the power steering pump. I'm gonna pull this way on the tensioner to release the belt tension. Now we can remove our old serpentine belt. You can let go of the wrench and pull our old serpentine belt off of there. Again, as I said, this belt wasn't that terribly bad, but we don't know the mileage on it. So to give you guys, one, a video on replacing your own belt, and two, to give myself some peace of mind and service history to know exactly when the belt was replaced, we're gonna go ahead and put this one on. We'll reach down here, wrap our belt around our crankshaft pulley, wrap it over the top of the smooth idler. I'm gonna pull it down and over the water pump. I'm gonna move it around the smooth pulley on the tensioner, over the power steering pulley, over the alternator, bend it back under our smooth idler pulley here, and back towards the AC compressor. Make sure everything's lined up. Move our tensioner back. Once we get everything on here, check all your pulleys, make sure that the belt is fully seated and sitting as it should, squarely on the pulley. Everything's aligned in the crank, around your smooth idlers, the water pump, AC compressor, alternator, and the dummy pulley for the power steering. Once that's done, remove your wrench. You're all set. So we'll go ahead, pull that tin back out that we put there for safekeeping. Line up our little peg, pop it in that rubber bushing, put our bolt back in place, and snug it down. And we're done replacing our Serpentine belt. All right, on to the PCV valve replacement. We're right here is the intake manifold. This is the throttle body. PCV valve is located right here. I know it's just out of sight from the camera, but it's hard to position. So we grab our PCV hose, pull it off from the intake manifold, give it a couple twists back and forth. It might break off. Like I said, it's old and brittle. Pop it up like that. Try not to knock our light over just to get it off. And yeah, it's pretty daggum hard. Get it off of our old PCV valve. 19mm socket directly on top of the PCV valve. Go ahead and turn it out like any other bolt or fastener. Try not to be a butterfinger and drop it. There we go, PCV valve. This one is pretty clear, not a bunch of carbon buildup and junk. It's kind of sluggish. Here's our new PCV valve. These things got the nickname of being rattle valves because basically when they're good, you hear them rattling back and forth. It's just a little one-way check valve for the crankcase pressure. Our old one, shaking it, not hearing any rattle. It is moving, but it is kind of gummed up and there is oil stuffed in it. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it. Now, the service manual wants you to put 3-bond 1324, which is Subaru specified sealant for the threads. 3-bond 1324 is an anaerobic gasket sealer. This is a Permatex product. It is Permatex 51813. It is basically the exact same stuff. It's an anaerobic gasket sealer. So basically we're just gonna put a little squirt of this around our threads before we install the new valve. You can use like a Teflon tape. If you were in a bind, you can use Ultra Gray Permatex RTV. Should not have an issue with it. I've used a combination of all of those, and no issues from it. Just something to keep from having any air leaks there. So once we're good and gooped up on our threads, we're gonna go ahead and start it back in the bore. Put our socket back on it. Turn it on back in. Snug it up. All right, final torque on this from the factory service manual is 23 Newton meters, or right at 17 foot-pounds. Go ahead and put our torque wrench on here, torque it to specification. Torque to spec. And we'll take out our new PCV hose, which part number is 99071AD690, and part number for our PCV valve is a 11810AA131. Now we gotta do is pop our hose over the nipple off the PCV valve and pop it on the nipple here at the intake manifold. Push it all the way on until it's snug and secure. And you're good. Good and done. And you see lots of play in this nice new supple hose. And we're done. All right, last service real quick. Cabin air filter. Another quick and easy service you can do without any tools. Remove contents of the glove box. Down here you have, just out of frame, this little detent. It's a little catch arm. Just pull that loose. Next you'll squeeze the sides of the glove box in. That lets it drop down and release from the hinges. Now that the glove box is out of the way, there's a panel right here. There's two squeeze tabs, one on either side. Squeeze those tabs, releases your cabin air filter, slides out just like that. Throw it to the side. New cabin air filter, part number 72880FG000. Going in. Slide it right in. There is an orientation. There is an arrow here that says up. Make sure it's pointing up. Slide that on in the cavity. Push it till you hear the click. That's the tabs clipping in place. Once that's done, pick up the glove box, reset your hinges, push up, hinges re-engage. Take your little damper down here, press it back on to that peg. Reinstall contents of glove box. Close glove box door. All done. And that'll do it for today's video. We got our air filter, cabin air filter, serpentine belt, and PCV valve and hose replaced. Also added the battery hold down that was missing to the vehicle. Plenty of stuff still to cover, plenty of repairs to do. CV axle replacement, spark plug replacement, axle seal replacement, service front and rear differential, service the CVT, and lower control arm bushings. So be sure to subscribe to the channel for future updates, future videos, to keep track of the Crosstrek and other projects we've got going on. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out, helps the channel grow. Leave any comments or concerns or questions below. I will try to get to you as I can. Please know that I get lots of comments, lots of emails, lots of messages on Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media platform. But I do try to get back to you guys and answer you when I have the time to. So just bear with me. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.